We just appeared in the kitchen now because we have the potted potter in studio and they gave me this. How cool is it? And it makes a sound as well. Well, we are celebrating going back to school and making some of our tuck shop favorites this morning. And a big favorite of mine is fudge. So we needed to get in the expert this morning, Sam Linsell, and she's going to be making us what happens to be her favorite as well, fudge. Good morning, Sam. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good, good. Do you like my wand?
I absolutely love it. I specifically like the sound that it makes.
Oh, I like it as well. I need to put it down for a second. Okay, so we are making white chocolate fudge this morning. What do we need for it?
It's actually a very easy recipe in the sense that you just put everything in the pan. So we've got the pan on hot at the moment. There we go. So what we do is we just throw the sugar in.
All right, so you are using Salati sugar. Which one are you using?
This is the caster sugar, but you can actually use normal sugar as well.
Why did you opt for the caster sugar this morning?
You know, it's really either you can do. Because it's going to cook down. So sugar is sugar. So once it reaches a very high temperature, it doesn't really matter if the level of granularness when in the beginning.
Okay.
Then you add the white chocolate.
So we've got cream and white chocolate.
We add a little bit of butter.
Some butter.
This is not a very buttery recipe as typical fudge because the cream is the fat content that makes up this recipe.
Okay.
We're adding a little bit of glucose, liquid glucose to the recipe. We need that to help stabilize the sugar.
Okay.
This prevents sugar crystals from forming later on.
Okay.
And then what's a little bit unique about this recipe is we're adding a bit of green tea.
Oh, wow.
It's a white chocolate and green tea fudge.
Very nice.
So what we've done is just use some tea powder, but if it's not, the leaves are a bit big, you just grind it up a bit to a powder form.
That's the healthy part of our fudge.
That's the healthier part of the fudge. I must say, I never had anything like this when I was at school. Did you?
You know what? They did sell fudge, but it was something that I gave myself a treat with every Friday only.
Yes.
But it is a delicious part. You like this as well, right?
Yes, I do. But I mean, obviously, sugar is something that we have to be careful of and not eat too much of it. It's a special treat. It is an ideal thing to add to the tuck box in the sense that you make it in advance and it keeps for ages.
Yeah.
So you could just put a little square in for the children. And really, it's quite simple. It's a little bit of a painstaking recipe in that you've got to stir for quite some time. That is the only issue with fudge. But really, other than that, that's pretty much our work is done, except for a bit of stirring. Well,
while you're busy stirring, if you would like the recipe for our white chocolate fudge with green tea this morning, all you have to do is SMS the word Salati to 33728, and we will send you your pick and pay shopping list. And you could be making this very, very quick and easy, and very delicious too, might I add. Also, when you SMS the word Salati, you will automatically be entered into our competition to walk away with a fantastic Salati sugar hamper this morning, so you can make all the fudge that you want.
Yeah, so the green tea is a little interesting element, but you can completely leave it out. It's totally not necessary.
But I like that. I like the element of the green tea in there. I can't wait to taste it.
It kind of gives it a very subtle flavor, not a very strong flavor because it's very, very sweet. So really what you do is you bring this up to the boil and you stir intermittently. And then eventually you'll get to a situation where you've got a fudge that looks a bit like this and it's very, very bubbling and lava-like, which is lovely. The thing to remember when you're making anything with sugar and high temperatures is you just want to dip your finger in and have a good lick, but it's really, really hot and extremely dangerous.
And you don't want to sugar burn either. That's not fun.
So what I do is I make sure that I've reached the right temperature. So I use a digital thermometer and I pop it in, I turn it on, and then I wait till it's reached 118 degrees Celsius. And then you know that it's at that fudge stage. And when it's reached, which is now, it's reached 118, we then take it off and we need it to allow it to cool. Okay. So we take it off the heat completely.
This is the part that I enjoy watching the most because I remember when I saw it back in the day, you'd have like this long stick thing that you'd, kind of work through all the nicks and bumps out of there.
That's called tempering it. It's really cooling it down. And you can't cool it down instantly. I mean, you can put this in a bowl of cold water. It'll help cool it down a bit quicker. But the best thing is just to allow it to cool naturally. Okay. It does take a little bit of time, unfortunately, because you've got to keep beating it as it cools. And obviously, if you popped it on a slab, it would go a little bit quicker. And you just keep beating it. And eventually, what will happen is it will just start getting thicker and thicker. And
now I have my magic wand, so we are magically going to move over to the finished product. Look at that, we have it there.
You would empty that into a tub and let it cool.
Okay.
And that's really all it is. And then what you get at the end of the day is this, which is lovely.
Fudgy goodness.
Yeah.
You have to do that whenever you see fudge. You have to go, oh. Okay, Okay, we're going to practice. Sam and I will practice a bit later. Okay.
So then this is, I use a pizza cutter because I quite like it, but obviously you can just use a knife as well.
All right.
And then you cut it into squares. My suggestion is, because it's quite rich, is to actually make quite small squares.
Yeah.
And it just cuts effortlessly with a pizza knife. Pizza cutter.
Wow. There we go. That
it's very creamy, so I'd love you to try.
I'm going to try. Can I try this part here?
Sure.
Or did you have a special way that you wanted me to try it?
You know, and ideal, these make wonderful gifts as well. You can package them up with a bow.
Sam, you are spoiling me. Okay, wonderful. So we are going to try this. Thank you so much, Sam, for spoiling us today on Expresso. Once again, the keyword salati. SMS that to 33728, and we will send you the recipe list. You can also walk away with a salati sugar hamper and make your own fudge as well. Sam and I are going to try our delicious white chocolate fudge with green tea. We'll see you back after the break. Thank you.
The sweetness lingers longer with Salati and Expresso.